David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another review. Pen storage is something we all need to deal with as our collection grows, and today I have a brand new 17 pen case from a company which was new to me, and that company is Holme and Hadfield. I recently came across one of their new cases on social media and reached out to the company. I thought the case was unique and different than other cases in my collection, so I was interested in checking it out. Come to find out, the case is called the Pen Deck, and it's a limited drop offering launching today, if you're watching the video on the day that I'm posting it. What I mean by limited drop is that they are making 300 units available today. They anticipate those will sell out fairly quickly, and then at a later date, there's a potential for more inventory to become available, but it's not planned to be like a constant in-stock item. In playing around with this pen deck for a while, there are some things I really care for about it, as well as some areas I feel could be improved a bit. A little bit about the company before we look at the pen deck. Holme and Hadfield are based out of the UK. The founders are Ian Holme and Phil Hadfield, and their company specializes in display boxes. Here are some examples of their top sellers. You can see they have ones for knives and watches and challenge coins, as well as glasses. They also have watch cases that will wind your watches, and some personal organization cases as well. Okay, in order to get a closer look at this pen deck, please join me over here at camera 2. So here we have the pen deck from Holme and Hadfield. You can see the top is very reflective, so you get to see my camera and some lights today, at least for a second, but we'll rectify that in a moment. I will say that this was very well packaged. I won't show you all the packaging, but it was inside of a box with some protection, and then that was inside of another sleeve, and that was inside of another cardboard box, and inside of another cardboard box. And so the likelihood of something being damaged in shipping was very low. But the protection was adequate. The case is 11 inches by roughly 8 inches, and then it's 5 inches tall, which we'll show you here closer in a second. And I have it zoomed out so we can see everything here, so we get a bit of a wider view than normal. So on top, we have room for 7 pens, and on top there is some plexiglass. This comes in 2 different varieties. There is one made out of walnut, and then one that is black stained wood. This is the black stained wood. That on the bottom, there are some feet, and you know what? Let's see. We'll just show you what the back looks like. And this is what the side doesn't even fit in the frame. And this is what the front looks like. And there's a drawer in the front we'll get to in a second. But what really interested me about this case was the display on top. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we have individual pieces of wood. It seems like Holmes and Hadfield really specialize in cases that display the items that you're collecting. And so that was what interested me, is that it just kind of displayed the pens slightly differently with them sitting up on here, which is something that I like. But then as we get into the demonstrations, I think it's also an area for improvement. And this particular case they market it as being for pens that are between like 4.5 and 6 inches. So it's not for huge or large pens. And I'll show you in a minute here some examples of what fits and what doesn't fit in here. But they say that it's between 4.5 and 6 inches. This is a nice, I'm guessing it's a faux leather that's down here, but it is nice. And these wooden pieces are nice, so I don't think they're going to scratch your pens at all. Then in front, we have a drawer. Now, let me set this on the side. Yeah, okay. It won't be the whole thing, but you get the idea. So there is a drawer that opens up. The drawer is slightly angled, so it angles higher here to lower here. And here we have room for 10 pens. But then also what's nice is this tray comes out. So if you wanted to display your pens differently, or display them this ways and then use this storage for something differently, you could. But having it come out like that is nice. This is on sliders, and that the sliders are rather smooth gliding. They're metal runners. Now, a couple of things that I like about this is, one, that it is very smooth. And I do like that if you just push it closed, it doesn't quite close all the way. But if you push it, there's a little bit of resistance. So you have to push it a little bit closed. But then the purpose of that is so if I'm, turning this upside down, the drawer isn't going to accidentally open. So if you're moving it around, as long as this is closed all the way, then it minimizes the chance of that drawer opening up. Okay, let's take a look at what pens work in here. And as I had mentioned, they had said that it fits pens between 4.5 and 6 inches here on the top as well as the bottom. And so something large like this Namiki Emperor, it's not going to fit in here. It actually, maybe does it fit? No, it actually just does barely fit. So it fits in here kind of unconventionally, and it leans kind of here on the bottom. So I probably still wouldn't store it in there, but just at the angle, having it down here, that would fit. Something like a Classic Pens LB5 will potentially fit. Now see, this is what had me confused just a little bit, because there is a little holder here. And so that having this pen up here in the holder, it is not going to fit. The lid doesn't even close. But then having it all the way down here at the bottom, where then it's hitting the bottom, I'm not sure if I kind of cared for that. Maybe it would have been nicer if there was some padding here on the bottom. So I wasn't quite sure if it's designed to accommodate a pen like this to where it's not sitting in here, or if it was always supposed to sit in there. So a good example is something like this Pilot Custom 845, which is, this is a 6-inch ruler, so it is actually under 6 inches, if I actually show you the end of it there. But if I have it here where it is in the end, that will not work because it won't close. But then I can't have it here at the bottom either. It's not long enough for me to be able to place it here towards leaning on the bottom. So this is a pen that falls within the range of what's supposed to fit, but it doesn't fit in here. And there's just you're going to have to play with it a little bit to understand what in your collection works and doesn't here at the top. Something like this Franklin Christoph Model 66, obviously this is a long pen, so that will kind of work on the extended way, but it's not going to work in the standard fashion. And then something like this shorter Kaweco, that's not necessarily going to work here on the top, but it would work here on the bottom because it's actually a little bit, you're kind of perching it up here. It doesn't quite make it down to here, so that's not something that would necessarily work here up top. Okay, let's take a look at the drawer. And I know this isn't going to be completely in the screen, but I think this is still the best way to do it. One of the downsides of having the drawer not be removable is that you do have to kind of tuck your pens in here a little bit. So something like this 845, which fits in here, you kind of have to tuck it in here as opposed to being able to just place it in here. And I just wish the drawer came out just a little bit more, almost kind of farther out than it should, or farther out than a normal drawer would. Because when you take something out, you more often than not, you can't just pick it up because it's hitting here on the end, that you have to kind of pick it up and then pull it out. So you have to kind of pick it up to get it over the edge there and then pull it out. So I kind of wish you didn't have to tuck things in there. But this 6-inch pen here does work in this lower section here. Here, let me open this up here, and we'll test some other pens that I feel do fit well. Something like a Diplomat Arrow, that actually fits in here perfectly. So something the size of a Diplomat Arrow would fit in here and looks nice in the display case and fits well. Something like a Pilot Vanishing Point, the Vanishing Point fits well in there, and they fit well in here as well. Though I do feel it's a little bit narrow in between here, and so sometimes you're having to mess around with multiple pens in order to get the one out. It just sometimes I can just be a little bit clumsy getting one of the pens out. Something like a Kanreki, which is a Sailor Pro Gear, those fit perfectly. I saw the Kaweco Sport did not fit, but the Supra does. Here is this is a Delta Dolce Vita. This is the oversized. So the oversized, I would say barely fits in here, more on the width than the length, but it does fit in here nicely. Here is something like the Platinum 3776, and that one fits here up top as well as down below. But here's another example. This is a ballpoint from Tactile Turn. This was their GT, and this is under 6 inches, but it really doesn't fit here up top because, again, if you place it in the little slot, it's too far over here. But then if you have it out of the slot, then it is not big enough in order to fit here. So it does fit here on the bottom as well. And the same goes for something like the Mont Blanc 149, to where the 149 will not fit in either orientation up top, and even the Pelican M1000. That's kind of, even though it's under 6 inches, it's the same issue where it's not going to fit in here and it won't be secure in either way. But it does fit here in the bottom. Here is a Lamy 2000 that fits in there very nicely. And then I thought this was a little bit peculiar. This is a Lamy All-Star, and while the All-Star fit in here nicely in regard to the length, just the way that the bottom is formed, it doesn't really fit into the slot down here, and so it doesn't quite secure itself in here. So it's up here kind of precariously. So something with a wide, it kind of works better on things with narrowed, more tapered ends. Something with a wide flat end like that isn't going to work as well in this particular case, but it does fit here in the bottom. Here, I jostled that around. Let me go ahead and fix that. Normally you're not jostling around your cases. So here we have the Holme and Hadfield pen deck. I did mention this was a limited drop of 300 units. The retail price is $245, which I feel is a decent price for the quality of what you receive. I think that everything is very well built. I just kind of wish that these top units or these top holders were down a little bit more, or maybe more extended, so that, or maybe even there was multiple slots in here so that there can kind of be different options for different pens. If it was something more like ... or that it might fit a little bit more in regard to the options of the pens. But overall, I feel the build quality is done very well. I think it looks nice. I like the concept of having the pens kind of sit up like that as opposed to lying flat. That's something different, because I think that does, even when the lid is closed, present the pens very nicely. In the links below, or the notes below, I do have an affiliate link. If you are interested in this pen deck and use that link, it helps support this channel. But as I mentioned at the top of the review, this pen deck does go on sale today, and they were expecting to sell out fairly quickly, so that if it's something you're interested in, I would take action sooner rather than later before they sell out. Thanks go out to Holme and Hadfield for providing this pen deck for review. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.